Madang voters concerned about lack of polling awareness. Voting population more critical of candidates' policies. And City Water Authority concerned about approaching dry spell.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Wednesday's news. Madang voters have raised concerns over the lack of awareness being carried out in the province on the limited preferential voting system. Voters we spoke to told MTV they were not aware of any awareness being carried out by responsible authorities. The voters say the lack of knowledge on the LPV system may lead to a high number of informal votes.
The limited preferential voting system is the new style of voting that was used in 2007 to replace the old first past the vote system. This year is the third election to use the LPV system. The LPV gives you the chance to choose your candidates, but you are limited to choose your first three candidates of preference. And when you vote, your choice of preference should be in order of 1, 2, and 3. However, a number of people MTV interviewed still have questions on how they will vote. Madang Women's representative Maureen Sally says there was no awareness conducted in the communities to educate the voters. She says only those who know how to vote under the LPV system will cast the vote without fear of casting an informal vote.
So plenty illiterate about this now. Usati gata liklik fair knowledge idea and by go number make him. Lo insala polling good area na plenty and by Lucasema bagaraping wood.
Another voter says most people are still asking how they will cast their votes. She says in the last 2 years there was awareness conducted, but this year in Madang they were not informed of any organized awareness done to educate voters.
That's all. This year now this election. Only to make it one work. This LPV system now. Look at plenty. All of asking me to say, "How me vote?
Another concerned voter says the lack of awareness will also lead to informal ballot papers, as majority of the voters from the rural areas are LPV illiterates. The voters say with just 1 more week left before polling starts, responsible authorities must go out and educate the people.
Example, mi plaga fopla hot pla kende tol ron longa Madang open. Na suppose mi pla puti one tasol na mi pla puti nar pla na em informal now. Na mi pla puti one na mi pla sausem. Usai tol tripla hot pla. Thinking don pla mi pla no la give him all. By mi pla gilonar pla man by. This one number 2 or number 3 hot pla candidate. I mean na we now mi pla by making wrong pla money going set now. I mean so same. Mi pla Madang 5 pla yar mi pla no service. By mi pla staff turangu kien.
Voters in Madang may not be the only voters raising the concern. Most of the rural populations right across the country are still not educated on the new LPV system. And with just polling a week away, educating the public on the new LPV system is key. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Madang.
In response to the concerns raised by Madang voters, the election manager, Peter Yesaro, says at least 23 organizations were expected to conduct the LPV awareness in the province. However, the Electoral Commission Awareness Branch did not have the money to carry out the program. Thus, all election awareness programs were put off. The election office in Madang is only distributing awareness posters to the returning and assistant returning officers for display in each of the LLGs and districts for the public. Over 250 police officers will be deployed to all provinces in the Southern Divisional Command by the 17th of this month. This will be the final deployment of disciplinary forces in preparation for polling. Tekla Gunga reports.
The final deployment was announced this morning by Police Commissioner Gary Baki in a joint parade between police, PNG Defence Force and Correctional Services. These officers will be deployed to Milne Bay, Southern, Central and Gulf provinces. Head of the Southern Divisional Command, ACP Alan Kundi, says he is anticipating the departure by this weekend. The security personnel have undergone medical checks and are now preparing for deployment. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The PNG Electoral Commission head office in Port Moresby has confirmed that non-sensitive polling materials such as polling kits, voting compartments, ballot boxes and ballot box seals have already been sent out in shipping containers to all regions. This includes awareness posters on all aspects of polling that voters should be mindful of. The PNG EC also confirmed today that provinces who have received sensitive polling materials include Manus, Bougainville, Northern, Milne Bay, East and West Sepik, Western, Morobe and Madang. These sensitive materials, as per the election program, began being airlifted to provinces at the 2-week mark before the start of polling. These include ballot papers, candidate posters for polling booths, indelible ink and closed user group mobile phones for all returning and presiding officers around the country. All delivered materials are being kept under lock and key at provincial election offices. Ballot papers have arrived in Manus province in preparation for polling. The ballot papers were received by election manager Sponsor Vani and Manus Provincial Police Commander Chief Inspector David Yapu. They were transported from Omote Airport under heavy escort by the Joint Security Forces to Lorengau Police Station. PPC Yapu has instructed his officers to provide tight security where the ballot papers are kept. The ballot papers will be accessed and distributed on June the 24th when polling begins. A person with special needs is challenging candidates to genuinely consider the needs of people with special needs. Jire Widow says in this election, he is yet to hear a candidate's campaign include real needs for people living with special needs.
46-year-old Jaira Widow is a resident of Cheshire Disability Services in Port Moresby. He is not a typical person with special needs. Unlike the other residents, he has been employed for the past 19 years. He is a CCTV camera officer with a security firm. As much as he loves his job, he does not share the same sentiment about elections in PNG.
Minister vote. Even the me by looking all, but minister vote.
Jaira is a registered voter.
Me by looking more some previously. Previously, all before members. Only is a talk. But me making this But time only see power and say no. All those thing.
He says a basic need such as accessibility to public spaces has always been a challenge.
You create a space to move around easy in town. Shops, hospital, parks, like picnic parks, beside the beach. You get some little space where you can move around, or what?
In this year's campaigns, he is disappointed with the lack of attention given to people with special needs, and he has this challenge for current candidates and future parliamentarians.
Advice from me go on inside law policy belong all, no matter who you are, what you are, he or she, but you make him one of them towards the people with disability.
Florence John Duo, National EMTV News.
The campaign period is ending in less than 10 days. Polling begins and the outcome of the speech-making will prove whether people truly stand. Papua New Guinea is a country of close family ties where tribalism often determines who gets into parliament to represent the silent majority. This general election may be different. A more informed voting population is more wary of what candidates are saying. Bethany Herman with this report.
A Moresby South candidate has a mammoth task, contesting for a seat in Parliament against sitting MP Justin Kichenko, Anna Biscate and 12 other candidates. Wamzi Ilau has chosen a more subtle approach to campaigning. He is going by his family tree.
And I've worked with youths over the last 40 years in music business. I've been producing.
The musician is contesting the election silently. He says big crowds don't fully represent the voting population.
Mostly supporters who are not eligible voters. These are supporters who they just pick up off the streets, or supporters who don't belong to the electorate, go around there just to feed on the candidate's money.
In the past, campaigning in family ties worked well for local landowners. Today, the political ballgame has changed. In Port Moresby, the lines between family ties and voting for a leader have been blurred. Motukotabu landowners have competition from candidates who come from different origins. In Lae, the Ahi, traditional landowners of Lae City, face the same situation. The reason, whether good or bad, stems from development, migration and urbanization, has changed the course of elections once determined by family ties. Rural to urban drift has meant growing settlements, with people from all over the country living in one electorate. When candidates gain favor from the settlers, the voting changes. It becomes anybody's game. Settler loyalties aren't geared towards bloodlines. They come from their own views and they demand services. But in any community, whether traditional or settlers, it's the elders who influence where the votes go. They remain quiet, away from the campaigning rallies, but they are the most influential. They advise the community about who has the right policies and who will deliver the services to the people. The younger, more rebellious voters may or may not listen to their elders, but by virtue of custom, they are expected to. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
Here with National EMTV News, we'll have more stories on the election campaign trail as well as others after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Residents at Mautana in Port Moresby's Northwest Electorate want services if they cast their votes this time around. They say water has been a problem and not a single leader has addressed this. They pleaded for recognition following a visit by NCD regional candidate James Melegepa.
Mautama boasts a population of nearly 300 people. It has been an uphill battle for this community who voted in the 2012 national elections, but there are no signs of government services reaching them. Water has been a severe problem for this community. For the Mautama community, the visit by NCD regional candidate James Melegepa comes with no promises but hope for new leadership and better services. Local leaders say if past leaders have neglected them, they hope new leaders will not do the same. Melegepa spoke of the rise in settlements and how he plans to address this issue. As a former Secretary of Defense, he says the system of government has failed the people, especially those in the city.
Since independence, there's a responsibility once Housing Commission and it take over. They have not built a single low-cost housing in Port Moresby or anywhere else in Papua New Guinea.
Melegepa is an independent candidate and is contesting for the third and last time. Less than 11 days remain before the polls open.
If you give me that opportunity to represent you, I really want to change this city around where the people's interest is number one. Me not promising you anything.
Jack Lopave, Junior, National EMTV News.
The National Information Communication Technology Authority, NICTA, is working on measures to reduce cybercrime activities in the country. In partnership with the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, NICTA is building its capacity to strengthen cybercrime laws. Today, it presented a vehicle and office equipment to RPNGC's cybercrime unit to support police in terms of investigations.
NICTA has identified cybercrimes like defamatory remarks on social media, especially Facebook and Twitter, as the most common offences. Thus, it is working with police to find proper avenues to increase awareness on the proper use of information communication technology and find venues to address the increase in abuse of ICT services.
We will heavily rely on the ICT Directorate We put trained technicians and all that, so they'll be able to help. And as we know that this is a new unit, we have to probably train within the department, or we have to look outside.
At the courts, most ICT-related cases are either struck out or dismissed because investigators do not have the capacity to link evidences to those accused. This is one challenge NICTA and our PNGC are working on to build that capacity to punish those responsible.
NICTA will only assist during the investigation process with technical advice. So I think there's been some misconception because under the old Telecommunications Act 1996, NICTA, with consent from the Attorney General's office, would prosecute cases. But under the new cybercrime legislation, NICTA does not have any powers to investigate and prosecute cases.
While NICTA is expected to support the constabulary in providing equipment and training, Papua New Guineans have been urged not to abuse ICT services.
Want to make it known to the public that these issues will be addressed, but it will take time. Definitely there's the need to build capacity, and currently we are actually looking at training that should be happening within a couple of weeks for the police and also members of the working group.
Meanwhile, there are trainings that NICTA officials, prosecutors and police personnel will be attending to upskill their knowledge on cybercrimes. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
EMTV, in partnership with the United Nations, showcased the International Award for Best Documentary following the World TV Awards in China last week. The EMTV crew and United Nations Representative Coordinator Roy Trivedi exhibited the awards with extracts from the award ceremony on the 7th of June.
Venditti had the honor of representing EMTV and PNG as a whole in accepting the esteemed award.
First of all, I'm Italian. I work for a small little company, broadcaster in Papua New Guinea, which is called EMTV, in a country that unfortunately not many people know about. And we've been talking about the role of the media in portraying the right image. Unfortunately, Papua New Guinea often gets a really unfair, bad reporting. It's actually a fantastic country.
Driving the Change is supported by the United Nations Development Programme and successfully captured the struggles and successes of Papua New Guineans as a nation striving to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The focus of the film, a case study of a remote community, Domel, in the Jawaka province, that manages a rare poultry project using locally grown cassava and sweet potato as chicken feed.
Yeah, development doesn't come easily. You have to struggle. Sometimes it takes years, and you have to keep that thing that you're trying to achieve in your heads as a community and keep striving to achieve those. And I think that's the beauty of this story.
The film documentary also features a young talent of Papua New Guinea who played a major role in this world-class production. Nash Soarriba is the cinematographer and editor responsible for what the panel of stakeholders in the film's production agreed was spectacular visuals and sound that brought the film to life.
Like going there and being part of the people, living with them, we spent like 1 week in there, so it also helped me in editing. So when I came to sit and edit, I also like felt what the people there were feeling. So when it came to selecting my music and everything, because I was there, it helped me to put everything that I experienced and felt.
Through the UN's LinkedIn account alone, the film has attracted viewership in the thousands globally.
Within literally 7 days, we had 4,500 people clicked onto my LinkedIn site and were watching it. And we had people from America and Latin America, we had people from South and Central Asia, from Europe, and of course throughout the Asia-Pacific region.
According to Park, CEO of EMTV and subsidiary MTech, driving the change only marks the beginning of more film projects of this caliber.
You need that vision and you need that that direction, and I think that Mark was able to execute that beautifully with the support of a strong team.
Melissa Gaviro, National EMTV News.
Vandals were responsible for a major power outage in Port Moresby today. PNG Power Management says bottles tied with wire were thrown onto a power line just outside of Port Moresby. This caused a short circuit and consequently power blackout for most of the day. Homes and several business houses were affected, forcing some business houses to close for the day. As the authority responsible for water in the nation's capital, Edarano is concerned about the predicted approaching dry spell. Managing Director Henry Mokono said the utility company has already allocated some funding for addressing dire situations if it arises. The current level at the Sirinomo Dam is 68% to full capacity, and Mr. Mokono is confident that Edarano will manage a drought situation.
Mr. Mokono was asked about Edarano's drought preparedness during a recent media conference. He said the company is prepared. Mr. Mokono said during the 2015 El Nino period, the dam levels up at Sirinomo were critical, but Edarano still managed to see the city through that time over water rationing and public awareness.
So we believe that with the current capacity up at Sirinomo, we can manage it over a period of more than 24 months. We believe that we will not have any major problems in terms of managing water into the city.
Edarano General Manager Technical Lot Zawia reiterated that the public has a responsibility during the dry season.
Turn off the hose. If your toilet is leaking, fix it up. Do not wash your car with the hose. Use a bucket. So be water wise, because the El Nino affects all of us. So Edarano will do its best to supply water, but at the same time, residents of Port Moresby and CDC, please take the necessary precautions so that we are saving water at our dam at Sirinomo.
In the meantime, Mr. Mokono said a drought period of 6 months can be managed comfortably. On average, Port Moresby uses 170 million litres of water a day. He said when the dry season becomes extreme, Edarano will engage water rationing to control water usage in the city. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
Mount Hagen Provincial Hospital is in dire need of medical consumables and operation instruments. Today, the doctors, nurses and hospital staff put up placards informing the public of the shortage. The public has been urged to look after themselves during this election period and avoid incidents and behavior that may cause injuries which can lead to death.
The public awareness today at Mount Hagen Provincial Hospital by the staff was to let the public know that the hospital is really running out of medical consumable such as antibiotic, IV fluids, hand gloves, surgical instruments and all the other medical drugs. Dr. Medicine Dutt, the acting director of Curative Health in Western Highlands, told the public that the hospital have nothing available to treat patients. Last week they received only 10% of IV flask, which is only 300 of what they needed to stabilize blood pressure of over 3,000 plus patients.
Something is short, look, mibla help him, mibla. Also, the mibla like talk sabi, mibla public, also, you must look out, you may something where you can approach him, you may approach him. No good, you may ram na kaya na about the kamna.
Because of the lack of understanding of the shortage of drugs by the patients and their relatives, doctors and nurses have been threatened. Despite the National Health Department's responsibility to fund the medical supplies, the Provincial Health Authority are working tirelessly by putting out tender for medical suppliers to provide urgently needed drugs and medical consumables. Director of Public Health, Benson Safi, also urged the public to avoid getting involved in incidents that can harm people and have also urged the public to uphold cleanliness all the time.
No, look out, you play it. Lick something or some wash him hand and big something. You must wash him hand na keke. You must wash clean and big plus something. Hagen mi pla line plus ikane. That's the time mi plus ikane mi plus like pass him
The Mount Hagen Accident and Emergency Section has been seeing at least 100 patients every day. Emergency specialist Dr. Scott Candelio said A&E has gone to the extreme of using patients' cloth as gauze to soak blood and stitch them.
We had an incident where there was a mass accident and we had no gauze, so we had to cut the patients' clothes, wash them off, and then dress the patients.
The situation right now is that a woman in her 60s was slashed in her left forehead by her grandson. She was brought to the hospital at around 10 p.m. yesterday. Doctors were able to stabilize her, but they do not have instruments like stitches and gauze to sew her up. The hospital is currently depending on the medical supplies provided by the health centers in the province. Vasenata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Transparency International PNG has condemned the actions of government officials who colluded to deport lay missionary Douglas Tennant. In a statement today, Chairman Lawrence Stevens says it's a betrayal of the people when a decision by a court of law to stay the deportation is ignored. Stevens says the deportation of Tennant is sinister, considering the Immigration Department is unable to find the large numbers of unqualified workers in the country, yet was swift in deporting Tennant. Stevens says they expect the Foreign Affairs Minister to acknowledge a serious mistake and ensure that the government makes arrangements to return Tennant to his home in Vunapope immediately. And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.307 $0.4046 Australian dollars, $0.2708 euro, and 33.48 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, copper closed higher, while coffee and cocoa closed the day lower. Crude oil is trading lower, while palm oil and copper closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 92 points higher, the ASX closed 55 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed 54 points higher. Here with National EMTV News, we'll have stories making headlines when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. In Australia, local television media Australia Plus today broke news of a landmark $70 million settlement between the federal government of Australia and asylum seekers detained on Manus Island. Almost 2,000 asylum seekers detained between 2012 and 2016 will receive compensation, with the federal government agreeing to settle a class action brought against it. This group claims the Commonwealth Group breached its duty of care by holding them in conditions which caused them physical and mental harm. They also claimed they were falsely imprisoned after PNG Supreme Court ruled their detention was illegal. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill arrived in Manus today to campaign for his PNC party candidates, but there was no mention on the issue. However, earlier reports suggest the PNG government hopes to shut the detention centre down by the end of this year. A Marist Catholic missionary, Brother Martin McConnell, is delighted to see education standards progressing in the autonomous region of Bougainville after the conflict. Brother Martin was among a group of Marists who established Bishop Wade Talina Secondary School in North Bougainville. He was the guest of honor at the school's 25th anniversary. Fabian Hakalitz reports.
Coming back to the autonomous region of Bougainville to celebrate 25 years of Silver Jubilee for Bishop Wade Secondary School was a blessing since its establishment back in 1992 by the Marist Brothers and Associates. This educational institution was an offshoot to the Marist School, St. Joseph's Rigo High School in central Bougainville, because of the need of education following the civil war on the island.
There was a need for a school to the north of the island, but we couldn't get across to Booker at that time. Booker was already full at high school level. So it was a necessary thing to keep on with that schooling. We didn't want to lose the continuity of it, which is so important in a school. Once you've got a good spirit established in a school, then you keep it going with good teaching and good activity.
Bishop Wade for over years has continued to produce some of Bougainville's top athletes. What's important is instilling to students the challenge in realizing the importance of education.
It gives you a great feeling that what we did was the right thing, and we've got it right, and we've just got to keep getting it right and instilling into the children especially a challenge of really putting their best foot forward and doing their very best at school so they can take on the situations that are sure to arise in the future of Bougainville.
The amalgamation of St. Anne's Vocational with Bishop Wade Secondary sees this educational institution now called Bishop Wade Tactical Secondary School, and celebrating 25 years of Silver Jubilee is a milestone. Even visitors came from as far as Port Moresby.
But I was a student here, 97 to 2000. So coming back to Bishop Wade Technical Secondary, I'm very happy that I'm here and celebrating this 25th anniversary.
They're just like they're good. They help us as Bougainvilleans.
In Buka, Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
Still on Bougainville, a couple, a mother and a son and a woman from East New Britain were arrested in Buka by the Bougainville Police Service for the illegal production of homebrew. The West New Britain lady was arrested upon her arrival in Buka early this week for her involvement. Police also confiscated several items involved in the production of homebrew. North Sub-Commander Kingsley Lua said police acted upon several complaints that the 5 people were actively involved in brewing alcohol. A raid was carried out where items were confiscated. They have all been charged with no bail granted until the court hearing. Police will continue their investigations into this issue. Turning overseas now, and it is still not known how many people have been killed in a huge fire that engulfed a 27-story apartment building in London. Hundreds of the firefighters have been battling the blaze in a tower block that broke out just after 1 a.m. in the morning. There are fears many people are trapped inside.
A London apartment block turned column of fire. It was the middle of the night with most residents sleeping.
Oh my God, they're screaming!
Witnesses reacting in horror as the 27-story Grenfell Tower went up in flames.
Gotta move fast. There's somebody up there. This is someone on the last floor. I don't think they had any way coming out, and they were flashing their torch, and it was really bad.
The man here at right of screen doing his best to attract the attention of firefighters.
Oh, there's people inside. Look at the lights. Yeah. They're turning off and on the lights to show you there's people inside.
Somebody said they saw someone jump. I didn't see any of that, but honestly, it's indescribable.
It's unknown how many residents of the building's 120 flats escaped the flames.
When we first seen it, it was only a few floors, and then it's just spread up all the building and then onto the adjacent side.
Some reports suggest stairwells were consumed by the fire.
My partner saw someone fall. I saw a lady holding her toddler outside, screaming for help. It's a disaster.
40 fire engines and 200 firefighters were called to the scene.
That number seems is evidently going up as more fire trucks pull up here and more firefighters brought in.
What floor are you at?
Residents desperately trying to tell emergency services where people are trapped.
7, yeah?
11. The first emergency call was made just after 1 in the morning. Local residents gathering in their nightclothes, afraid and in shock. A police cordon has been continually moved back with fears the structure will collapse. Large pieces of masonry have been falling and firefighters are battling to reach the flames.
Had these reports, we can't confirm them. The people have been calling from inside the building on their mobiles, suggesting to family and friends they may not make it.
Dawn revealing a blackened shell, the remains of Grenfell Tower sending a cloud of smoke across the city.
Here with National EMTV News. After these messages, we have some sporting updates in Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports.
Well, Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with football, and the Papua New Guinea men's national team went down to Melanesian rivals Solomon Islands 2-1 in the return leg of the OFC World Cup qualifier in Port Moresby. PNG were forced to play with 10 men after defender Felix Komolong was sent off for a handball in the penalty box.
The PNG men's national team knew they had to win this game and win big to keep their World Cup qualifying hopes alive. The return of Nigel Dabinyaba would only add speed, which gels in well with the formidable force of Raymond Gunemba and David Brown.
Switches to the right-hand side. Dabinyaba.
PNG capped Solomon Islands on back foot with superb control in the midfield area before a perfectly executed play from captain Michael Foster, sending Dabinyaba down the right. This goal by Gunemba in the 17th minute would seem to set the tone for PNG. However, the celebration was short-lived after defender Felix Komolong was sent off for handball.
From the back, and it's a straight red card.
Komolong's dismissal left fans furious and coach Fleming Seritslev in disbelief.
The players all appealing Fleming Seritslev abs.
Solomon Islands captain Henry Farodo equalized from the resulting penalty. And as the clock ticks to the end of the first interval, Jerry Donga's stunning effort proved to be the winner. His precision placement putting the ball out of goalkeeper Ronald Warrison to reach.
Might double the lead for the Solomon Islands.
Although a man down, Papua New Guinea proved they are a resilient, determined young bunch. They kept the pressure on their opponent to dominate periods of the second half, making inroads into the opposing final third and coming very close to securing an equalizer.
Brown up to Raymond Gunemba.
However, the Bonitas of Solomon Islands would hang on eventually to win the match by 2-1. Disappointed Papua New Guinea coach Fleming Seritslev said the red card was very much the turning point in the encounter.
It's the second time that we have a match spoiled through a very unfair decision by the referees. It's not a problem moving forward, but of course we would like to have had the original final against New Zealand here.
Solomon Islands coach Felipe Vega Arengo Alonso, on the other hand, was experiencing much different emotions.
But after you score the second goal and you are winning by 1 and you are 11 against 10, you don't need to take many risks. You just need to keep yourself together as a team, defensive order, and try to play counter-attacks, which in the second half with the win against was a little difficult, but the team did a wonderful job. These guys are the best.
This win, combined with the 3-2 victory in Honiara last Friday, ensures Solomon Islands top Group B, which sends them off to meet OFC Nations Cup holders, New Zealand, in the home and away series final. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
Fleming Seritslev has questioned the referee's decision after Papua New Guinea crashed out of the World Cup qualifying campaign last night. Referee Junpei Ida was at the center of attention from both irate fans as well as a furious PNG bench after the sending off of defender Felix Komolong in the 30th minute. Seritslev says that the red card received by Komolong last night as well as that received by midfielder David Brown in March were contributing factors to PNG's results.
The FIFA slogan is, my game is fair play. Unfortunately, we have not had fair play in the 2 last home matches. We have been reffed in a way that has been deciding for the match against Tahiti, where David Brown was sent out totally without making a free kick. And tonight, Felix was sent out in a very unfair way. The ball is kicked directly to him, and before this situation there's an offside. So for us it has been a tough evening, but I really feel that we have been treated unfair in this third stage of our competition. I would say normally it's a very bad excuse that I'm coming with now, but tonight I have to say it like it is.
Meanwhile, Solomon Islands captain Henry Farodo says full credit should be given to Papua New Guinea after the gallant display in last night's World Cup qualifying match. He says despite being a man down for much of the match, PNG were a force to be reckoned with.
I think at halftime, when we know that they're 1 man down, we know that they're going to come out, fighting as well. And,
playing from experience, it's always hard to play 10-man. It's not as easy as you might go, oh yeah, you know, I mean, they're one man down, but it's always hard playing a 10-man team. And I think, you know, with the fighting spirit that the Kapus have as well, you know, it does push on us as well. And we do find it difficult as well. But we have a game plan, and I think all credit goes to the boys that they stood by it. They held on to it, and we never gave away what we went out there to do. So I think, yeah, you know, it's football, and I think I'm pretty happy with how we cope with that situation of the game.
And we'll have more of Trukai Sports after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Rugby League, the SPPNG Hunters will play another home match this Saturday against the Tweedhead Seagulls at the NFS. The Hunters are coming off 7 straight wins and will be hoping to continue their winning form this weekend to maintain the #1 spot on the Intrust Super Cup competition points ladder.
A few changes have been made to the Hunters starting lineup. The most noticeable change would be winger Adex Wera being moved to the centres to replace Willie Minoga, who comes off the bench. Paul Wawa will get a start on the wings, playing alongside Wera.
So Willie moves onto the bench also. His little injuries there, which we'd like to give them a little bit of time to recover.
A few players have been named on the extended 20-man bench, including Southern Academy's Muka Pitakula.
We'll possibly give him a run this weekend, depending on the outcome of that judiciary issue.
Hunters vice-captain Wellington Albert was cited by the Queensland Rugby League for a dangerous tackle during last weekend's match. The team is awaiting a decision from the QRL judiciary. There are a few injury concerns with Captain Aseb Boas, but the team is confident he will be ready for the match on Saturday.
Left shin, so we're just making sure that we go through the normal processes and have all of our boys checked and they're healthy.
Ase currently leads the Intrust Super Cup top point scorer ladder. If he is unavailable for this weekend's match, Hukula says Israel Eliab may take up kicking duties.
Israel, who does that as well. Bland does a little bit of kicking. Would probably lean a little bit towards Israel because he's kicked in the past as well. We have a plan in place if he does not come out the other end at the end of this week. We'll make a little changes there.
The Seagulls arrive in Port Moresby on Friday for the 5 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. Though the Seagulls are at the bottom of the ladder, the Hunters know what they're capable of and will not take them lightly.
Regardless of where anyone is on the ladder, every team that comes up here always comes up with a second win to try and offset us, and we're just preparing on those little things that we needed to improve on, our ball handling skills and our positional play.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
To cricket now, this is the second week of the Hebo Shield 2017 tournament. In the second men's 3-day series, Diggers got off to a good start against the Hammers. Baramandi Dogodo Bao was the star who blasted a century for the Diggers to set them in the lead with 4 for 280 runs at stumps.
Continuing the good form from last week, the Asad Vala-led side, the Diggers, are expected to set a bigger target for the Hammers. Opting to send the Diggers into bat first was one decision that backfired on the Hammers. Before they knew it, Dogodo Bao was well on his way to a century. With 13 boundaries and a 6 to top it off, Bao secured an unbeaten 115 runs. Legasiaka, Tony Ura and Tom Willie together supported Bao with another 165 runs, losing only 4 wickets, with Willie Gavera taking 3 wickets for the Hammers and Vagi Boko also picking up 1. The Diggers continue to make the runs count today at the Amini Cricket Ground. As of the match last week, the Diggers are currently leading the competition with 17 points, while the Hammers are on their heels with 7 points. Dinero Sriko, National EMTV Sports.
Still on the Hebo Shield, in the women's third 40-over match, the Sharks once again showed dominance with a 57-run win over the Piranhas at the Amini Cricket Ground 2. Batting first, the Sharks posted a massive 7 for 283 in their allotted 40 overs. The Piranhas replied with a weak chase. Inside over only 6 overs, the top order collapsed with just 18 runs scored. Tanya Ruma-Helen Brooker partnership brought together 119, but that was not good enough to boost the chase. The Piranhas eventually bowled out for 181 in the 37th over. And that ends True Kai Sports. Up next, the all-important weather report. Stay tuned.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a quick look at the weather for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, Port Moresby mostly fine and windy for Daru. Cloudy with some showers expected in Kerma and Alotau. Cloudy and some rain for Popondetta. To the Momasa region, mostly fine in Lae, Madang, Wewak and Vanimo. Some showers in Wau. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine for Buka, Kimbe, Kokopo, Rabaul and Lorengau. Cloudy with some showers for Kavieng. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centers can expect cloudy weather and some showers over the next 24 hours. And there is a strong wind warning for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Kerma, Yule Island, Hood Point to Samarai Island, including Milne Bay and its islands, as well as Finchafen through Witia Strait, Dampier Strait, including Siasi Island to Long Island, and the westernmost part of West New Britain.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the way it is this Wednesday, the 14th of June 2017. From the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.